now we have the sleeve and it's pressed open along the side here. So what we need to do now is set the sleeve into the armhole. In order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to have the garment portion with the raw sides out like this. And then we're going to turn the sleeve so that the fashion fabric is on the outside. You can see our seam right there. The reason we're doing this is when we set the sleeve into the garment, we'll have right sides together. So just like we need to sew our seam. So you can see right here where I'm putting the underarm seams together, we're seeing the nice side in both of them. So we're seeing the fashion fabric side together.
I'll get it.
And then all of these notches you're going to line up. So just like it says on the pattern, the notch near the top of that sleeve is going to match up with the shoulder seam that you have just sewn. I need to see how much fullness they have in this. I don't remember from last year. I'll take a look. Oh, they do have a bit of fullness in here. Okay. Let's back it up. Okay, before we put that in here, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a basting stitch in here to help us with this. So this one has a little bit of extra fullness. So when we're done, oh, I can't draw with a pencil on that, can I? When we're done, we'll have, you know, the sleeve here. This is our bodice. And the sleeve itself will have just a little bit of height before it comes out like that. So we'll have just a little bit of height in it. We might be able to reduce and prevent it from having gathers, but it'll have some height like that. So in order to do that, we need to put in a little basting stitch for ourselves. So the way I'm going to do that is I've moved my stitching to basting, and I'm going to go along in here just a little bit less than a ½ inch. And I'm going to go from just below one notch all the way around the top to just below the other notch. So I don't have to go all the way to the bottom, just the top part, what we call the cap of the sleeve.
Then she does it like takes you like 10 minutes just to do that.
We just baste the top part.
Yep, baste the top part, which is also called the cap. You can already kind of see it's getting a little bit of shape to it just by having that. Yeah. So we basted the cap. So now we're going to do exactly what we talked about before. We'll set it in. We want to set it in with the fashion fabric on the outside and the fashion fabric on the inside of the bodice. So when you put it together, you do fashion fabric sides together here. Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I know. You have documentation. I let my phone ring. So sorry. Alright.
Back here.
So again, I'm going to match up this this notch here with the very top where we did our shoulder seam. And right now I'm pinning perpendicular to my stitching just so that I can figure everything out, because it's a little bit like we did with our gathers. I want to make sure I know where my ease is going. So I'm going to match up those double notches. Almost always double notching will be in the back. So we start with our notching scheme in the front of the garment and move to the back. So usually the front will always have 1 and the back will always have a 2. Alright, so now between that side seam and the notch, we should be able to go ahead and pin right along in there. And which way do I want to do it? I'm going to do it, yeah, I'll do it this way. So I'm going to be pinning it on the outside, so pinning it to from the bodice side. So I'm just matching up and pinning at that 1/2 inch. Making sure that my seam as even as possible here. Great. Okay, so I've pinned up the bottom part of this. Now I need to pin up the cap of the sleeve. And as you can see, there's a lot of excess in here. So this is where my basting seam has come in handy. It looks like we might have to gather it a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and, just like we did on our gathering, pull one of the threads, so just the top of the bottom thread here, and pull the same thread on the other side. Until I can kind of even it out in here. So we're going to have a few gathers along the top, it looks like. So I want to try and distribute those as evenly as possible. And I'm working my way sort of from those side marks here towards the center, distributing the fullness as evenly as possible as I go. I don't know, it's really close. I might be able to eliminate the gathers. Super close. Nope, definitely will not. Okay, well, it was worth a try. If I can avoid gathers, I do. So we want the gathers to be basically as sort of focused around the cap as we can get them. So we don't really want the gathers coming down very far. We want them to be up near the top as much as possible. Because that's where we need the fullness, is right there where we have our shoulder joint. So I think I've done that pretty well. So I have it pinned in there. You can see the gathers are sort of focused right there around that side, or that shoulder seam. Everything else is pretty straight along in there. So at this point what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it like this and put it in the machine, and we see that we have a free arm on our machine, which is really handy because we can just slip this on here like this. And we'll make sure our stitching length is back in the 3. And then I'm going to stitch starting from the side seam underneath and back stitch, and then I'm going to just stitch all the way around. So I'm just going to stitch in the circle back to where I started, and then back stitch on top of where I started.
At 1/2 inch?
Yes, at a 1/2 inch, exactly. we're just working our way around, and just like we did with the curve seam, we're just kind of manipulating the fabric and helping it go around that curve as we go.
Oh, which reminds me, when you basted it, did you keep it at 5?
Yes. Mm-hmm. You have a standard basting stitch. And now we're doing a standard straight stitch. So we're back on a 3 at this point.
Are you gonna take the basting out?
We will take the basting out if we need to. We may not need to. So. Alright, so I've sewn all the way in a circle back to where I started, and then back stitched over that, so you can see my stitching like that. And you'll see now that I have just a few little gathers and tucks right across the
So cute.
cap. I know, isn't it adorable? This is supposed to be full size, but I think it's still just super
It's
cute.
not.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Yeah. Full size child. Fabulous. So there's your cute little adorable sleeve. What we'll want to do at this point is you'll want to, again, just like normal, press as you would. You may need to press like this so you can get in there. So press, 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 turn, press. Press, press, press. So I can pull out the gathering if I want to. I don't need to. I just need to make sure I trim my threads if I leave it in. And then once I've pressed as I've sewn, then I'm going to want to press to one side.
Press the.
And we want to press it in towards the sleeve.
You mean the seam allowance?
The seam allowance in
Okay.
towards the sleeve, yep,
Gotcha.
exactly. So it helps create just a little bit more cap on that sleeve, a little bit of extra fullness. And then I'll also ask that you hem the cuff of the sleeve as indicated. So right here, you guys are all pros at hemming by now. Just like that. You can do whichever type you like. So you can do, as long as there's no raw edge here. So if you want to turn twice and do a machine stitch, you can do that. If you want to just do a hand one, that's fine. It's a small section. So